Someone goes on a first date, everything works, the conversation flows, the attraction is real, chemistry feels undeniable. By the end of the night, both people want to see each other again, and then they kiss. And something just turns off. Not because the kiss was technically wrong, not because anything was said or done, but something in that single moment communicated information that months of texting, hours of conversation, and every photograph ever taken of that person simply could not. And whatever the body found, it rejected. Scientists have a name for this. They call it a compatibility signal failure. And the fact that a single kiss can instantly erase attraction that took weeks to build raises a question that is far more disturbing than it sounds. What exactly is your body reading during a kiss that your conscious mind cannot? That question sent researchers into a decades-long investigation. And what they found, sitting at the intersection of evolutionary biology, neuroscience, and anthropology, is one of the strangest stories in the history of human behavior. Because kissing, the thing billions of people do every single day, the gesture that fills every love story ever written, may not be what we think it is at all. In 2015, researchers conducted the largest cross-cultural study of romantic kissing ever attempted. They examined 168 cultures across every inhabited continent. Their conclusion was quietly shocking. Less than half, only 46%, practiced romantic kissing at all. Think about what that means. For something we treat as the most natural expression of love imaginable, the majority of human societies throughout history either never developed it, abandoned it, or found the whole idea genuinely strange. Several cultures, when shown footage of romantic kissing, described it as unhygienic. One group said it looked like people trying to consume each other. But here is what made researchers pause. Even the cultures that don't kiss still do something remarkably similar. They press foreheads together, touch noses, stand so close they share breath. Different gestures, different centuries, but all pointing at the same invisible target. Deliberate closeness. The kind that can only exist between people who trust each other. Which means humans may not be driven to kiss specifically. We may be driven towards something deeper, a need to communicate intimacy through physical proximity. And kissing is simply one way that drive expresses itself. But that still leaves the most important question unanswered. Where did the behavior come from in the first place? And the story of how it got inside a kiss begins with something most people today would find deeply uncomfortable. Roughly 2 million years ago, long before Homo sapiens existed, hominid mothers practiced a behavior called premastication. When infants were too young to chew solid food, the mother would chew it herself, soften it, break it down, and transfer it directly from her mouth to the child's. Today, this sounds alarming, but at the time, it was survival. It was the difference between a child eating or going hungry. What researchers noticed, though, is that embedded inside this act was something beyond nutrition. It was closeness, trust, the mingling of breath between two individuals who depended on each other to live. The mouth was becoming a channel for care, and humans were not alone in this. Chimpanzees transfer food mouth to mouth. Bonobos use kissing-like contact as their primary tool for managing tension, repairing relationships after conflict, holding the community together, which raises a possibility that reframes everything. Humans may never have invented kissing at all. We may have inherited the biological scaffolding for it from ancestors who lived millions of years before us, and then built something entirely new on top of it. But if the origin of kissing was survival and social bonding, why did it become romantic? Why do lips carry so much weight? The answer was hiding inside the human immune system, and nobody expected to find it there. In the early 1990s, a researcher named Klaus Wedekind designed an experiment that sounded almost absurd. He asked male volunteers to wear plain white t-shirts for 2 days. No deodorant, no cologne, no scented products of any kind, just the shirt and the person inside it. Then he collected the shirts and asked female volunteers to smell them and rate which scents they found most attractive. The results came back strange. Consistently, women preferred the scent of men whose immune system genes were most different from their own. Not similar, different. The greater the genetic distance in a specific cluster of immune-related genes called the major histocompatibility complex, the more attractive the scent was rated. The reason evolution built this preference is coldly logical. When two individuals with different immune profiles have children, those children inherit a broader, more diverse immune defense. In a world without medicine, that difference was survival. Your nose has been quietly running genetic compatibility assessments for millions of years, without your permission, without your awareness. Every time you get close enough to someone, your body is already gathering data your conscious mind will never directly access. And kissing, with its extraordinary proximity, its exchange of breath and saliva, its full engagement of every sense, puts you in the perfect position to complete that scan. This is why a first kiss carries weight that no first glance ever could. Your eyes can be fooled, your ears can be charmed, but your biology, apparently, is much harder to deceive. In surveys of people who experience sudden, inexplicable loss of attraction after a first kiss, a significant number described a physical sensation, not just disappointment, but something closer to wrongness. A signal so clear it overrode conscious desire almost instantly. Your body had run the test. And it had delivered its verdict. If kissing were only about that initial compatibility scan, something doesn't add up. Because people in relationships that last decades never stop kissing. The test presumably was completed long ago. So why does the behavior continue? That's where neuroscience walked in and found something remarkable. When two people kiss, the human brain does not respond passively. It responds like something important is happening. Dopamine floods the reward circuits, the same pathways that activate during eating, during achievement, during any experience the brain categorizes as worth repeating. Oxytocin surges through the system, the molecule most directly associated with trust, attachment, and the deepening of emotional bonds. Serotonin shifts, and cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, drops measurably. In other words, your brain treats a deep kiss as a significant biological event. It marks it, it rewards it, and it strongly encourages you to do it again. For a species whose offspring are unusually helpless, human infants require years of active protection before they can survive independently. Strong pair bonds aren't just emotionally meaningful. They are a survival strategy, and kissing appears to be one of the tools evolution developed to reinforce those bonds over time. And here is the detail that stops people cold. A single kiss transfers up to 80 million bacteria. But researchers discovered something far stranger than that number alone suggests. Couples who kiss frequently tend to share a nearly identical oral microbiome, the same invisible ecosystem of microorganisms living in the mouth. Their bodies have, over time, merged their microbial worlds. But when couples stop kissing, even couples who are still together, still attracted, their microbiomes begin to slowly diverge again. As if the body is quietly keeping score of closeness in ways the conscious mind never tracks. The human lip is one of the most densely nerve-mapped surfaces on the entire body, more sensitive, relative to its size, than almost anywhere else, which means a kiss isn't simply a symbol of affection. It is a high-bandwidth sensory event. An enormous amount of information, emotional, physical, chemical, microbial, is being transmitted between two people in real time, most of it below the threshold of conscious awareness. Think carefully about what a kiss actually requires of a person. You close your eyes. You reduce your awareness of your surroundings at the moment of greatest vulnerability. You expose your face, your airway, your throat to another person. You enter their space and you allow them into yours, at a distance closer than almost any other social interaction permits. For an animal that spent millions of years surviving in environments where alertness was the difference between life and death, this is not a trivial act. It is, in biological terms, one of the most defenseless positions a body can voluntarily assume, and yet humans seek it out, repeatedly, across every era of history and almost every culture on Earth. Some researchers argue this is precisely the point, that the vulnerability is the message. That a kiss communicates something no words, no gifts, and no gesture performed at a safe distance ever could. I trust you enough to be unguarded near you. I believe you will not harm me when I cannot see. So consider everything we now know. A kiss transfers up to 80 million bacteria. It triggers a cascade of neurochemicals that reinforce attachment. It may allow the brain to gather genetic compatibility data below the level of conscious thought. It has ancient primate roots that predate humanity itself. It is practiced in less than half of all human cultures, yet something functionally identical appears in nearly all of them. And despite all of that, after all the research, all the decades, all the competing theories, science still cannot fully explain the part that seems most significant. Not the chemistry, not the neuroscience, not the evolutionary advantage, the part where it means something. where it can end a relationship with a single wrong moment or begin one that lasts a lifetime, where two people who have run out of words find that they haven't run out of things to say. That part remains, stubbornly and beautifully, just outside the edge of what science can reach, which may be the most human thing about it. Has a first kiss ever changed how you felt about someone? Not because anything went technically wrong, but because something just felt off, and you couldn't explain it even to yourself. Leave it in the comments, because I think more people have experienced that than ever talk about it. And that silence might be the most interesting thing about kissing of all.